I've been talking about fast starts and how to grab your reader's attention right away. Well, after you do that, you want to keep their attention throughout the middle of the novel or other story. And by middle, I mean basically everything after the first chapter or first few chapters where you grab their attention and maybe get to the inciting incident where the plot really takes off. So to keep from having a saggy middle or a bland middle, you want to have plenty of action, drama, tension, basically lots of plot. Some years back, I was ghostwriting a novel about a famous girl sleuth, and I set this on a paleontology jig because I thought that would make a really great setting. And I think it was an interesting setting, but apparently I got a little bit too much into the details of daily life on a dig. So the editor read the first draft and said I needed to pull back on some of that more almost nonfiction information, have more action, and maybe use the desert setting more. So I trimmed some of the scenes where they're in the heat and scraping away at the dirt and so forth. And I added a scene where the main character and her friends, they know somebody's been stealing bones from this paleontology dig. They hear a noise in the night, so they sneak out to follow this light that's traveling off through the desert with their flashlights off, so they won't be seen. They get out there away from camp. The light suddenly goes out. They discover that somebody has removed the batteries from their flashlight, and then they look around and they see eyes glowing in the dark. So, which sounds more dramatic? Daily life on a paleontology dig, scraping away in the dirt under the hot sun, or surrounded by coyotes lost in the desert and the dark? So, not every book is going to have that kind of action scene, but look for ways to add danger, excitement, and tension. That can be physical danger if you're writing an action novel or really any kind of story, but it can also be emotional or social danger. So, for a middle grade novel where a kid is new at a school, figuring out which table to sit at during lunch could have an enormous amount of tension and very high stakes. If it's a romance, the danger might be to the heart as this person decides whether or not to open up to the potential of new love. Just make sure that things are happening, that there are surprises, betrayals. Now, again, that betrayal is going to be different for different types of books. So, for a thriller or a mystery, it might be somebody who the main character thought was an ally who turns out to be an enemy. But for another kind of novel, it might be a family member or friend who does something, maybe not even because they're bad, but because they have different priorities. They do something against the main character's goal or interests. You want reversals where things seem like they're going in one direction and then something happens to flip that. Any kind of twists. All these things help keep those middles really feeling like they're rushing forward and the reader wants to keep turning pages. Abigail Samoon, an agent with Red Fox Literary Agency, said during a workshop, a likable character plus a bad situation builds the most tension. Be the hero's worst enemy. Be mean. Keep heaping on the tension and don't stop with one or two things. Up the stakes on the character. And this can be challenging because we tend to like our characters. We don't necessarily want them to suffer. So we may instinctively protect them a little bit. This is especially true with children's book authors because adult writers often have that instinct to protect children. But children are inspired by reading about characters who face really difficult challenges, work through them, and succeed by themselves, based on their own actions. And that main is true for adults as well. We like reading about characters who are struggling and who overcome adversity. So think about whether you're being too nice to your character and you should actually be a little bit harder on them. You need to be their enemy in terms of the writing. So, an exercise you can do with your work is just think about it. Are you being too nice to your main character? Do you have that instinct to protect them? And so, whenever they're faced with a challenge, they overcome it too easily or it kind of goes away. You might want to go back and rework those sections. Ask, do they face danger, physical danger, social danger, or both? I don't know why the word work is in there. It's because I just was editing something and left an extra word, so ignore that. Do they have to face danger in what they're doing? And do you have surprises, betrayals, twists? You don't necessarily need a betrayal specifically, but you want those things that will surprise the reader, which usually means it's surprising the main character as well. You want things to twist and go off in new directions so that you can really keep your reader's attention. That is it for this lesson. Next time, I'll come back and we'll really dig into the main character's goal, motivation, and conflict in order to keep those middles action packed.